Arman was a man who had everything. He was a millionaire, living in a big house, driving a luxury car, and wearing the finest clothes. But on this rainy afternoon, as he drove his expensive black car through the crowded city streets, something caught his eye. At the corner of a busy street, under the weak shelter of a small old shop's awning, stood a woman. She looked tired and worn out, her clothes old and torn. Next to her were 3 small children. The little ones were dirty and hungry, but what shocked Arman most was how much they looked like him. Their eyes, their noses, even the shape of their faces. There was something familiar. The youngest child looked just like Arman had as a baby. His heart skipped a beat. Arman slowed his car and looked carefully. The woman was begging for money, her voice quiet and tired. The children clung to her, their small hands holding on tightly. Arman felt a strange pull inside him, a feeling he had never felt before. He blinked and looked away, telling himself it was just a coincidence. Maybe these children just looked like him by chance, but as he drove on, his mind did not leave them. The image of the woman and the children stayed with him. He thought about his own life, the comfort, the money, the safety. Then he thought about those children, standing in the cold rain with no shoes, no food. The city was busy. People passed by the woman and her children without paying much attention. Some gave a few coins, others ignored them. Arman pulled his car into a parking spot a little ahead and sat there for a moment. He wanted to turn back, to go to them and ask questions, but fear stopped him. What if he was wrong? What if there was no connection? His phone rang. It was his assistant reminding him about the important meeting he had in an hour. He smiled weakly and said, "I'll be there soon." But the thought of the woman and children stayed. He could not focus on work. At a nearby cafe, Arman ordered coffee and sat by the window. He watched the street. The woman was still there. She was wiping the face of the youngest child, trying to keep him warm. Arman's mind raced. Could this woman be someone from his past? Was it possible that these children were somehow related to him? He remembered his childhood. His parents had told him stories about family secrets, but nothing was clear. His father was a strict man who never talked about the past. Arman reached into his pocket and touched a small old photo he always kept with him. It was a picture of his mother holding a baby. Him. He looked again at the woman. She looked much younger than his mother's photo, but there was something about her eyes that reminded him of someone familiar. The rain stopped, and the sun started to peek through the clouds. Arman felt a sudden rush of courage. He decided he had to know the truth. He got out of the car and walked slowly toward the woman. The children looked up, their eyes full of fear and hope. "Excuse me," Arman said gently, not wanting to scare them. The woman looked at him quickly, then back at her children. Her eyes were tired but strong. "Yes?" she asked quietly. Arman smiled softly. "I noticed your children. They look very much like me. I know this sounds strange, but have we met before?" The woman's face changed. For a moment she looked shocked. Then she smiled sadly. "No, sir, I don't think so." Arman felt a chill. Why did she say that so quickly? He looked at the children again. "Can I help you? Do you need food or a place to stay?" The woman hesitated, then shook her head. "Thank you, but we manage." Arman wanted to say more, but something told him to stop. He did not want to scare her or make her uncomfortable. He took out his wallet and gave her some money. "Please, do you use this for your children?" She accepted the money silently and nodded. As Arman walked back to his car, he felt confused and curious. Who was this woman? Why did she have children that looked so much like him? His heart told him this was not just a coincidence. There was a story here, one he needed to find out. That night, Arman lay awake in his big room, staring at the ceiling. The face of the woman and her children haunted his thoughts. He whispered to himself, "Who are they? Why do I feel connected?" Tomorrow, he decided he would find the answers, no matter what. The city slept under the soft glow of streetlights, but inside Arman, a storm had started. The next morning, Armin woke up early. The image of the woman and the children was still fresh in his mind. He could not stop thinking about them. His curiosity had turned into something deeper, a need to understand. Armin decided to go back to the same street where he had seen them. He wanted to watch, to learn more, but from a distance. He did not want to scare the woman or the children. He parked his car a few blocks away and walked slowly toward the corner. There they were. The woman, Sana, sitting on the sidewalk. The three children playing quietly beside her. The smallest child was trying to fix his torn shoe, and the others were sharing a small piece of bread. Armin's heart ached. These children, who looked so much like him, were living such a hard life. He remembered his own childhood, warm rooms, enough food, loving parents. How different their world was. He sat on a nearby bench and watched. Sana noticed him but said nothing. Her eyes were tired but kind. She kept a close watch on her children. For hours, Armin stayed there. He saw Sana comfort her crying child, gently brushing the dirt from his face. He saw the oldest child, a boy named Ali, trying to make his little sister laugh despite their hunger. Armin wanted to approach her again, but something stopped him. He wanted her to feel safe. He understood that trust could not be forced. While watching, Armin thought about his own life. He had everything money could buy, but in that moment he felt empty. Seeing Sana's love for her children made him realize how much love truly meant. Days passed, and Armin kept returning. He learned small things about Sana and her children. Sana talked quietly to the children about hope and dreams, about a better life someday. But her eyes told a story of pain and struggle. Armin noticed that Sana was very careful. She never asked for help directly. She wanted to protect her children from the harshness of the world, even if it meant suffering herself. One afternoon, Armin finally spoke to a shopkeeper nearby. He asked quietly about Sana. The man said, "She used to live here with her family. But something bad happened. She lost her home and now struggles to survive." Armin felt a tight pain in his chest. What kind of trouble could have brought this woman and these children to such a place? That night, Armin sat in his quiet home thinking about Sana and the children. He wanted to help, but worried about how to do it without hurting them. He whispered to himself, "There must be a way. I can't just watch from the sidelines." Armin's phone beeped. It was a message from a friend in the city's social services. They told him about homeless families in the area. Armin felt hope rising. The next day, Armin brought small gifts: food, clothes, toys for the children. He left them carefully near Sana, hoping she would accept them without feeling ashamed. Sana found the gifts and looked around. She didn't see who had left them, but felt a small spark of hope. She thanked the quiet kindness from afar. Armin watched from a distance, feeling both joy and sadness. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. As the sun set, Armin made a promise. To himself, he would uncover the truth about Sana's past. He would find out why her children looked so much like him, and maybe, just maybe, he could help heal their broken lives. Armin could not stop thinking about Sana and her children. Their faces stayed in his mind like a puzzle he needed to solve. Why did they look so much like him? Was it just a strange coincidence, or was there something deeper? That day, Armin decided to visit the local library. He hoped to find some answers about Sana's past. He did not know where to start, but he knew he had to try. At the library, Armin asked the librarian if there were any records or news about a woman named Sana and her family. The librarian smiled kindly and showed him old newspapers and community records. Armin spent hours reading. Finally, he found a small article about a woman named Sana. The article said Sana was once married to a man who disappeared many years ago. She had 3 children and lived a happy life until tragedy struck. The article did not say much more, but Armin felt something important. He thought, could this woman be the same Sana? Armin's phone rang. It was his assistant, Rita. She had been helping him with some business work, but today, she said, "I heard about the woman you are trying to help. I found something on the internet." Rita sent Armin a picture of Sana. It was the same woman. from the street. But what shocked Arman was another photo, a picture of Sana with a young man. The man looked very familiar. It was Arman's own father. Arman's heart stopped. Could this be true? Was Sana connected to his family? He called his mother that evening. His voice was quiet but serious. "Mom, do you know a woman named Sana?" His mother hesitated. Then she said, "Yes, many years ago I knew a Sana. She was your father's first wife." Arman was silent. His mother continued, "She left after your father disappeared. She wanted to protect the children. I never saw her again." Arman felt a mix of emotions: shock, sadness, hope. The children on the street were not just strangers, they were his family. That night, Arman could not sleep. He thought about the pain Sana must have felt, raising 3 children alone on the streets. He felt guilt for not knowing this sooner. The next morning, Arman went to the social service office. He wanted to learn how he could help Sana and the children. The workers were kind and understanding. One worker said, "We can provide shelter, food, and education for the children. But first, we must find Sana and gain her trust." Arman knew this would be difficult. Sana had lived on the streets for a long time. She would not easily accept help from a stranger, even if that stranger was her husband's son. He made a decision. He would find Sana and tell her the truth. He would prove to her that he was there to help, not to judge. That afternoon, Arman returned to the street corner. Sana and the children were there as usual. He walked slowly toward them, holding a small gift, a photo album of family pictures. Sana looked up, surprised but cautious. The children stared at Arman, unsure of who he was. Arman spoke gently. "My name is Arman. I want to show you something." He opened the photo album and showed pictures of his father, his mother, and a young Sana. Tears filled Sana's eyes. She looked at Arman and whispered, "How did you find me?" Arman smiled softly. "I never forgot your family. I want to help." In that moment, a fragile hope was born. The first step toward healing had begun. The sun was low in the sky when Arman sat down beside Sana on the cracked sidewalk. The children were close by, curious but still quiet. Arman's heart raced. He knew this moment was important. The moment to build trust. Sana looked at him carefully. She wiped a tear from her cheek and said softly, "Why did you come? Why now?" Arman took a deep breath. "I am your family, Sana. My father was your husband. I want to help you and the children." Sana's eyes widened. She looked away for a moment, her face full of pain. "I left because I was scared. Your father disappeared. I didn't want to be a burden. I wanted to protect the children." Arman nodded. "I understand, but you're not alone anymore. I want to make things better." Sana was silent. The children, sensing the mood, slowly came closer to Arman. The youngest, a little boy named Sammy, reached out his hand. Arman smiled and took it gently. For the first time in a long time, Sana felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Over the next few days, Arman visited Sana and her children often. He brought food, clothes, and blankets. But more than that, he brought kindness and respect. Slowly, Sana began to open up. She shared stories of her life, the happy times, the struggles, and the long nights on the streets. Arman listened without judgment. He wanted to understand everything. One afternoon, Arman said, "Sana, I want to help you and the children move to a safe place, a home where you can live with dignity." Sana looked doubtful. "I don't know if I can trust people anymore. I have been alone for so long." Arman's voice was calm and steady. "I promise I will be here. We will take it one step at a time." Sana thought for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay, let's try." Arman smiled with relief. It was a small step, but a big one for Sana and her family. Together they went to a shelter for homeless families. The staff welcomed Sana and her children with open arms. The children's eyes lit up at the sight of a warm bed and a clean room. Sana felt a tear slide down her cheek. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Armand stayed with them, helping to fill out paperwork and making sure they had everything they needed. But even as things started to improve, Armand knew the real work was just beginning. He wanted to find out what happened to his father, the man who left Sana and the children behind. One night, Armand sat alone in his office, looking at old photos of his family. He whispered, "I will find the truth, for you, Sana, for my family." The next day, Armand called a private investigator. "I need to know what happened to my father. It's important." The investigator nodded and promised to start the search immediately. As Sana and her children settled into their new home, Armand felt a quiet hope growing inside him. He did not know what the future held, but he was ready to face it, with Sana and the children by his side. Days passed and Armand's mind kept turning over the mystery of his father's disappearance. The private investigator called him with news. A lead had been found. Armand met with the investigator in a quiet cafe. The man handed him a small folder. "We found some old documents and photos. Your father was involved in something important, something that may explain why he left." Armand flipped through the papers, his heart beating faster. There were pictures of his father with other men looking serious. Some papers mentioned a big business deal that had gone wrong. "What happened?" Armand asked, his voice low. The investigator looked around and whispered, "There were threats, maybe even danger. Your father vanished to protect his family. It's possible he wanted to keep you all safe." Armand felt a chill. He never imagined his father's absence was about more than just money or work. Meanwhile, Sana was slowly adjusting to her new life. The children smiled more, and for the first time she felt peace. One evening, as Armand visited, Sana showed him a small box she kept hidden under her bed. "This belonged to your father," she said softly. Armand opened the box carefully. Inside were letters, a few old photos, and a worn-out necklace. He read one letter aloud. "My dear Sana, if you are reading this, it means I had to leave for your safety. I love you and the children more than anything. Please forgive me, Armand." Looked up, eyes full of tears. "He never stopped loving you." Sana smiled sadly. "He wanted to protect us, but he couldn't tell anyone." Armand held her hand. "Now we will find the truth, together." But the truth was dangerous. 1. Armand received a strange phone call. A voice said, "Stop looking for your father, or you will regret it." Armand's heart pounded. He knew the search was not over, and the past was not ready to be forgotten. He looked at Sana and the children. "We must be careful, but I won't stop, I promise." The story was far from over. Armand felt the weight of the warning. The strange phone call was a clear message. Someone wanted him to stop searching for his father. But Armand was not a man to give up easily. He looked at Sana and the children. Their safety was his top priority. But he also knew that uncovering the truth meant risk. Days turned into nights as Armand worked harder. He met with his private investigator often, gathering every piece of information he could find. Every new fact brought him closer, and closer, to danger. One evening, as Armand was leaving the shelter where Sana and the children now lived, a black car slowly followed him. He felt a cold fear creeping into his chest. He quickened his pace, glancing in the rearview mirror. The car stayed close. Armand decided to lose them. He turned sharply into a narrow street and ran until he reached a crowded market. The car slowed and eventually disappeared. Heart pounding, Armand called Sana. He told her what happened and warned her to be extra careful. Sana was scared, but she trusted Armand. "We will get through this," she said. Armand knew they needed help. He contacted an old friend who worked in security. The friend agreed to watch over Sana and the children, but danger was not the only challenge. Sana struggled with her past. Memories of hardship, fear, and loneliness haunted her. Some nights she cried quietly, afraid of the future. Armand stayed by her side. He gave her strength when she felt weak. One day, Armand received new evidence from his investigator, a secret bank account under his father's name. The money was hidden, possibly used to protect the family. Armand's hope grew. Maybe this was the key to finding his father and understanding everything. He shared the news with Sana. "We are closer, Sana. I will find him." Sana smiled faintly. "We will face everything, together." But the shadow of danger grew darker. Someone was watching them closely. One night, Armin found a note slipped under the door of the shelter. It read, "Stop now, or lose everything." Armin felt a fire inside him. Fear was there, but so was determination. He looked at the sleeping children and whispered, "I will protect you all, no matter what." The journey was far from over, but Armin knew he had to be brave. Weeks passed, and the once tense atmosphere began to shift. Edward, determined to make amends, spent every free moment with his children. He attended their school events, helped with homework, and learned their favorite bedtime stories. Slowly but surely, the walls between them began to crumble. Clara watched from a distance, her skepticism gradually giving way to cautious optimism. She saw a side of Edward she hadn't seen in years, the kind, compassionate man she had fallen in love with. Though their romantic relationship was long over, Clara found herself respecting Edward for his determination to do right by their children. One afternoon, as the family sat together in the park, Edward turned to Clara. "I know I can't change the past," he said softly, "but I want to be here for them now. I want to be the father they deserve." Clara smiled, her heart swelling with pride. That's all they've ever needed. As the months turned into years, Edward's life transformed. His priorities shifted, and he found a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. He learned that true success wasn't about wealth or status, but about love, responsibility, and connection. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Edward looked at his children, James, Amelia, and Theo, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had given him a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for letting me be part of your lives." The children beamed at him, their smiles brighter than any diamond. And so, in the quiet moments of everyday life, helping with school projects, sharing laughter over dinner, and comforting each other during tough times, Edward found a new kind of wealth. It wasn't measured in numbers or assets, but in the love and trust of his family. Though the road had been long and filled with challenges, Edward knew he had found what truly mattered. And with Clara and the children by his side, he was ready to face whatever the future held.